Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bird's Eye Learning Series with me, James Hopwood, UK Agriculture Manager here at Bird's Eye. And so today I thought to take a look at a couple of different things, something I prepared earlier, which we'll have a look at in just a moment, but I also thought I'd take a look at the history of our mighty pea and why it's been so important to humans over our evolution. So peas are native in the wild to the Mediterranean region, like in the warmer climates. We have to go back 10,000 years to the Neolithic period, to when farmers were starting to transition from being hunter-gatherers to being farmers in the first agricultural revolution, when we were domesticating animals and starting to grow crops. And peas are evidence to be one of the first crops that humans started to cultivate to eat. Move forward 9,000 years and peas are shown to be cultivated across the world, carbon dated back to 975 BC to areas such as Burma and Thailand. But it wasn't until the Romans, as the Romans did with so many things, that they started to identify certain traits within the peas that they could harness and cross to get a better plant, to get a sweeter pea, to get a pea that grew better in a different climate. And the Romans are evidenced and recorded to have had 37 different varieties of pea. But it wasn't until 1856 in a monastery in Austria that a chap called Gregor Johann Mendel first started to experiment with different peas, looking at 7 individual identifiable characteristics. So he looked at plant height, he looked at the flower position and colour, he looked at the pod shape and the pod colour, and finally he looked at the seed shape, or the pea seed shape and colour. So with those 7 characteristics, he did a number of experiments between 1856 and 1863, and ultimately started to establish the rules of heredity, and that's now known as the laws of Mendelian inheritance. But really his theories and the laws that he produced and published weren't really taken seriously, and scientists such as Darwin really discounted them, only believing that characteristics and traits were passed down through blood. But it wasn't until 1900 that these theories were picked back up again, and Mendel, although he'd passed away 19 years previously, his theories were picked up and understood and started to become known, and those dominant and recessive characteristics that he'd identified and written about in his papers were ultimately demonstrated and taken forward to what we now know to be genes. So peas have been really, really important in human history, and that's one of the reasons why we love them today. And I'm really pleased to say that at Bird's Eye, 2/3 of the varieties that we use are unique to ourselves and has been bred over the last 50 years by our scientists to harness the characteristics and traits that we know and love to produce sweet peas. And our scientists are still doing that today in our Selleberger Research Centre over in Sweden, where one of my colleagues, Agnesa, and her team are still looking to get the best out of our pea crops, so it continues as we grow with our peas. So here we are, and I thought I'd just change the subject and look at something else. So I've set up in front of me 12 different pots, and over the course of the next 12 weeks, as the peas grow and develop and we take them through to harvest, we'll just have a look at what's happening underground, because as you grow your peas at home, you'll see lots of green material above, but as we looked at last week, peas are a really special crop as they harness nitrogen out of the atmosphere as a legume. So I've got my bucket here, and so we'll start by tipping the first pot out and we'll see what we can find. The soil's nice and moist, so I've given it a water, and here we have our little peas. Now a little bit of an artificial environment compared to a field, because obviously the pots are getting a little bit warmer than our peas into the field would be. But the development here has been superb. So as we start to take our peas, if you can see that there, we've got a superb root growing, nice, strong, healthy. The pea seed as it starts to grow has swelled, so it's a little bit bigger than when we put it in, so it's bulked up, and then put that root down, and we start to see our young shoot growing upwards towards the sky, out of the soil, to go in search of the light it needs to produce energy to grow. So that's really good. You've got 3 really strong little seeds there, and so I'll pop them back in there. and we'll look at these every week, and we'll find a different topic to talk about. So thanks for joining me on this learning series, and I look forward to seeing you next time. See you soon.